Can't be brave without fear. This is the time to be unafraid, to allow our resilience, our determination, our integrity, and our power to come to the surface. See you on the other side. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Real Reading Talk. I am your most gracious host, Ms. Sasha. And with Real Reading Talk, I discuss the real systemic issues that are at the very core, the very foundation as to why we have low levels of literacy in the Black community and the ways in which we can combat these issues together. I welcome you. I need to give a shout out very quickly to the new subscribers that I have to my YouTube channel, Reading is Freedom. I thank you all so much. It is truly a blessing. The one podcast that I did when I talked about how elite college students can't read, that podcast just totally took off. And I said, wow, man, I'm like, that just goes to show you that people are thirsty for this beneficial knowledge out here in these internet streets, right? Because there's a lot of debauchery, there's a lot of craziness that a lot of folks like to put on the internet, or when they have a YouTube channel. We got a plethora of channels that just basically talk about nonsensical things that are not empowering, things that are not taking us to the next level. And so it just shows when you have folks, when they do get a taste of someone or a group of folks who are putting out content that is worthy, that is valuable, that is helpful, that is beneficial. It's just so great to see and refreshing that people are like, yes, this is what I need. This is what I want. And I thank you. And of course, my old heads, I appreciate y'all, right? So definitely keep on listening, making sure that you share, making sure that you give the comments, all of that stuff. So now I'm about to get right on into it, okay? Hey, listen. This episode, of course, this show, for those of you who do not know, this show was intended to empower the Black community. Because again, like I always give in my intro, we are the ones who have been suffering from these, whether you want to say high levels of illiteracy or low levels of literacy, whatever way you want to word it. And it has systemic roots to it. And the root of the problem is called enslavement. Okay, because when you want to enslave people, when you want to put shackles on people, the first thing you do is you tear them down mentally. And one of the things that has been done to our ancestors is they have been denied the right to be able to learn, to be able to read, to be able to write, to be able to do things that's going to help them be elevated. Even though the irony in that is a lot of our ancestors who were taken from Africa, from the western part of Africa in particular, a lot of them they were already coming from literate societies anyway. And when I say literate, that doesn't mean they were reading English, because let's be clear, this language that we're speaking, this is a colonizer's tongue, a colonizer's language that we're speaking, the English language. And in fact, the Americanized English language is like the bastardized form of English. It's all types of languages, that they took from, and then they got, of course, kept the King's English, but then put their own twist on it. And here you have the Americanized English that we are speaking. Okay, just like those who were colonized by the Spaniards, they speak Spanish. Those who are colonized by the French, they speak French, and so on and so forth. All right, so let's be clear. But like I said, our ancestors, they had already had their own African languages, and a lot of them spoke Arabic as well, because a lot of our ancestors who were taken from the western part of Africa were Muslim. And they they were studying the Quran, and the Quran is written in the Arabic language. They were studying the Hadith. The Hadiths are books, they are compilations of sayings and traditions of the Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings of God be upon him. They were studying those books. And in fact, a lot of African scholars, they were Muslim. All right. I just wanted to share that knowledge. And these are things that African scholars, people from the African diaspora, they already know this. These are things that are very well documented. So please make sure you go fact check anything that I say. All right. So again, in order to enslave a people, what do? You begin to tell them that they cannot learn, they cannot think for themselves, they cannot have their own culture, they cannot have their own experiences. You cut them off from all of those different things that made them the human being, the connected human beings who had their own families and own traditions and cultures. You cut them off from that because you want them to be oppressed. You want them to do everything that you tell them to do so that you can build up whatever it is you're trying to build up. Hence, this is how we have America. This is what our ancestors had to endure, those atrocities, those sicknesses, right? And so this is why, again, that I started this podcast, Real Reading Talk, because I wanted to get to the real of it. No sugarcoating, no chaser. That's why I call it Real Reading Talk, because in the Black community, when we say we want to talk about things in a real, authentic way, when we want to get to the crux of it, we say, give it to me straight, give it to me real, give it to me with no chaser. I don't want no sugarcoating. I want you to tell it like it is. So that's why I call it Real Reading Talk, because the focus always comes back to the foundation, which is literacy, and which is whether I'm talking or whether I have guests on and we are having discussions about how literacy is extremely important, I'm always going to go back to that foundation. All right. And what I am seeing, which is really, really disturbing me, y'all, it's really, really disturbing me. What I'm seeing a lot of is this, it's almost like people are surprised and shocked because of this president-elect that we have now. And we know, I think in about 70 more days or so, he's going to be sworn in. So it's going to be really, really official, right? And people are like, oh my God. Oh Lord, TB. Oh my goodness. He's taking away, he's going to be taking away the Title I. He's going to be taking away all these educational things that are set in place for those oppressed, poor, Black, in particular, Black and brown children, how the educational system. Oh my goodness, he's going to put these things in practice or whatever. In fact, let me just read the title of this one particular article that I'm referencing, which was from the Grio, which said, Trump Abolishing Education Department spells doom for Black America. And so I'm reading, and I had to read it a few times. I'm like, okay. I'm like, huh? And so I'm just like, and I read the article and I'm just like, okay, wait a minute. So you're telling me that before Trump got in office, we shouldn't have been concerned about the educational system? We shouldn't have been concerned about and always pushing back against fighting for us as Black folks to be able to have true history being taught to our kids. And yes, and I'm talking about, of course, we have folks who've already been doing that. So I'm definitely not referring to those people, because there are plenty of folks who've already been on that game, okay? But unfortunately, especially too, when you have, especially like a platform like the Grio, and you got these different platforms that has been created to focus on talking about different issues in the Black community, I had a problem with that title, because I'm like, if we already know these things were already occurring, why are we acting surprised when you have an open racist, fascist, somebody who totally, clearly, unapologetically, like, middle fingers to anybody who's non-white, okay? Whatever that is, that's a whole nother podcast, right? Because we already know the whole concept of race, if you don't know, is a made-up social construct. Because without denigrating Black folks, there would not be no quote unquote white, okay? In order for them to exist, in order for that concept of whiteness to exist, they had to have an other group, which was Black people. That's the whole point. All right. So again, going back to my point, we already know these practices were already set in place. And even though some people will say, well, see, well, that's why we have affirmative action, right? That's why we got the Title I. That's why we have all these different things set in place. But again, when are we going to get to the point, though, to where we start getting back to our ancestors who were fighting against this system on a massive level? And they were like, no, we're not trying to fight so that you can give us this funding, so that you can still give us not the truth in this curriculum as it pertains to Black people in particular. Why are we always trying to fight for that? It's like, again, the whole notion of fighting for a seat at the table. Why are we constantly with that mindset? This is the crux of our issues. I hope now, I pray, inshallah, God willing, I pray with this president-elect that this will wake us up, us, that literally will get to the point now we'll start saying, you know what? We don't need our kids in these systems. We should have been creating our own systems. We should have been creating our own schools, which, by the way, we do have ancestors who have done that, more than just Black Wall Street. We have plenty of communities where our folks have done that. And unfortunately, again, we know how stuff goes, right? Every time we mind our business, then that's when you have those who practice the false notion of white supremacy. And notice I said that practice the false notion of white supremacy, whether you are the one who's promoting it or the one who's standing by and not saying anything. Them kind of white folks. That means you're supporting it. Because you do have some white folks who definitely they're against it. And they believe that we should have our own spaces, our own communities, reparations, all of these different things. Now, I don't know a lot of white folks who speak about it openly, but there are some out there. But again, like I said, we should constantly be on the trajectory of saying, I don't want no part of what you're trying to teach our kids, because you're not teaching them the truth anyway. You get Title I funding or, affirmative action or what, all these other fundings and different things that they're giving to these schools. They create summer programs, all of this stuff. But then when you go look at it and you go look at the curriculum, you go look at the books, you still have the same stuff that they're teaching. The same stuff that my kids is learning is the same stuff that I learned when I was a kid, which I know y'all can relate to. They're going to make sure they teach our kids about, the Greek mythology. They're going to make sure they teach them, because that's the foundation. They go into that, the Greek mythology. We learn all of that stuff. Then we start learning about democracy, right? Because, this is the place where this is the free world. So we got to learn where it came from, right? They literally have a pattern. They have a system where we teach this. They start getting into, the stain on America, right? What's that little stain called? Yeah, that little thing called slavery. Yeah, I know it's a little, that happened, you know what I'm saying, for about 400 years. And then, and we talk about Jim Crow and all that. But yeah, but it's moving on. We're okay now. Remember Obama got elected, right? And again, when you, like Dr. John Henrik Clarke talked about, when you start your history as slavery, then everything else seems like progress. Because they for sure ain't gonna go pre-colonial on you, because they know good and doggone well, then that's when you start getting into, well, wow, man, you had these African systems already set in place. You had Queen Nzinga, Queen Hatshepsut. You had Mansa Musa, Askia Muhammad, Sundiata Ali. You know, they don't want our kids to know those names. Because when they know those names, they're like, oh, so we didn't start on a slave plantation? Oh, because I thought, when y'all put that little paragraph in the history book, and we got the black boy who got on tattered clothes, and then you got the old black couple sitting on the porch. I thought that's where we started from, right? They do that on purpose because they want to remind us you didn't have no history until we came around and gave you one, remember? We civilized your asses. We saved you from them jungles and the bones in your noses. And you going around talking about, ooh, and with your eyes all bucked and you saying all kind of languages they didn't understand. But for some strange reason, it's like we minding our business. What you coming over there? What you coming in our land for? You got it going on, remember? You got it going on, right? No, because they know they didn't have it going on. They don't want to talk too much about them dark ages. They don't want to talk about the fact that our people taught their people how to bathe. They don't want to talk about that. Those civilized things. But see, again, like I said, number one, when we get back into knowing who we are, loving who we are, and keep studying and keep reading and keep gravitating to people who understands that we are the ones who have the power. We just don't see it because we bought into this false notion, again, of white supremacy. The white man's ice is colder. We bought into this fact that, well, in order for us to really be educated, we have to make sure that we're getting educated from them because, see, that legitimizes our education, right? The things that our ancestors did in terms of, having our own, our ancestors who knew how to cure sicknesses the natural way, making sure that our babies were born safe, having the midwives. These are things that our folks was already doing. Understanding the value of nursing your children. Remember, I don't know if, for those of you who are listening, you remember those times to where you had nursing. If you were nursing your baby, that was looked at as barbaric. Like, oh my God. That was looked at as barbaric. Because you didn't have the white women nursing their children. In fact, during the enslavement, remember, that's what you had the mammy. The mammy was doing that. They were the wet nurses. They were the ones who were nursing them white babies. And remember, black people were disgusting and filthy, but for some strange reason, they wanted their white babies to suckle on the black woman's breast. I don't know. But our folks was nasty, right? Dirty, filthy, all of that. But you want your baby sucking on her breast, this black woman's breast, right? That was disgusting to the white woman, right? She got better things to do. But now what do you see? Especially within the last, I probably, 20, 30 years or so, it's like now oh yeah, you have to nurse your baby and the benefits. And, when they get the colostrum and, that right there is benefiting the brain. And, they keep nursing and all those nutrients and all of the healthy things that these are the antibodies. It's like, oh, okay. You mean the stuff that our folks was already doing? Oh, okay. And then when studies come out and folks start realizing that the Similac and the Enfamil and all them other garbage, uh, uh, milk or whatever, powdered substances that our babies are fed, they start doing studies and research. Oh, ish, like, dang, man, like this stuff ain't good. In fact, it's like extremely harmful, right? But again, what does that speak to though? It speaks to the fact that what was taken away from us is us trusting ourselves. It speaks to the fact that the whole dismembering our community. When you're not connected to your history, your past, your community, your elders, those conversations that a lot of us, especially for my folks in my age group and older, we know about, being able to be over Big Mama's house or Mud Deer house or whatever you call her, and everybody having those Sunday dinners, or you having the family reunions and the different things, like all of that convening. When you coming together, that's a form of learning. That's, again, that foundation of literacy. Having those conversations, listening, that mouth to ear, listening to Big Mama. She talking and talking about all these different things, that what they would do, and and different good herbs to have, and planting gardens, all of these different things. Or you got Pop or Grandpa or Papa, whatever you call them, and he's talking about different things or whatever. Those are the things that they looked forward to destroying in our communities, because they look forward to a day like this, what we're dealing with right now. I mean, I see folks who are older than me, and they are just like, what I's gonna do? I'm scared. I had read a post, somebody talked about how, people were looking at them funny while they were on the plane. And I'm just like, and I got mad respect for my brothers and sisters out there. So I'm not trying to come off in any kind of way, be denigrating or whatever the case may be. But one thing that I know that I do have to do, I have to live in my purpose. And my purpose is pushing through my fear. And inshallah, while I am living, while Allah, one God, continues to have the breath in my body, I'm going to use this breath to be able to live in my purpose, which is speaking out against this disgusting demonic system that is anti-human, anti-humanity. When you literally set up systems so that people cannot be able to do things like do for themselves, take care of their families, read, study, travel, whatever different things, because we know these are the things that they set up, create these horrible conditions in our communities. When you do all of that, and you literally take the time to methodically put together plans to be able to do that, you no longer are in the category of human. You are in the category of a devil, period. I got no love for you. You are an enemy to our creator. So that means you are my enemy. And what do you do when you have an enemy? Do you cower down? Do you duck your head and be like this and please, please? Now, unless you're doing it as a strategy, maybe, if that's your strategy, you know what I'm saying? You got to act scared for a minute, and then you got your plan. That's cool. That's cool. But if your plan is to, oh my God, like I said with this title, Trump Abolishing Education Department spells doom for Black America. Oh, Lord, it be clutch the pearls. Lord, it's over. When you start acting like that, man, that's that scared energy. And inshallah, God willing, I can't have that scared energy. I don't want it around me, and I don't want it around my kids, and I don't want it around anybody that I'm around that I'm trying to help in any kind of way. Whether I'm tutoring, whether I'm interacting with the community, when we are giving out books, I can't have that around. Because that's not what Real Reading Talk is about. That's not why I created this. That's not why the fact that we have our nonprofit organization, ABC Read, why I'm a reading tutor, ABC Learn Tutoring, why I created the brand Reading is Freedom. Our ancestor, Frederick Douglass, he said, once you learn to read, you will be forever free. When he put in his narrative about how he beat the brakes, the crap off that slave owner who started beating him. And he took that whip. He said, no, F that. And I think they fought for I want to say it said 2 hours. I mean, they fought. He whooped his tail. And he already knew He conceded in his mind. He like, okay, because he knew the punishment. You fight back the oppressor. Oh man, please, that's an automatic death sentence right there, flat out. But guess what? It wasn't his time to leave the earth. Allah, one God, did not give the angel of death permission to take his soul out of his body. Did you hear me? It wasn't time for him to go yet. He had a mission. And when his mission was complete, then that's when Allah gave permission to the angel of death to take his soul out of his body. So what am I saying to you? The same thing I'm reminding myself. You got to know what your mission is. You got to know what your purpose is. And you got to live it unapologetically, even when your voice shakes, even when you are afraid, whether you stutter, whether you forget stuff, whatever it is, whatever challenges, handicaps, whatever the case may be, however it is, you have a mission, and your mission, and that's who I'm talking to. That's my audience. I'm talking to those who have a mission, a purpose. They understand that you're going to complete your mission because you have a mission of good, of righteousness. You have a mission of empowerment. And you have to do it with integrity. You stand up and do it. And when you fall down, you get back up. You get right back up and you say, no, I'm going to complete my mission until the Creator tells me I'm done. I'm not going to sit back and say, I'm doomed. What? What? What are you talking about? You're not doomed. We're not doomed. When you are in the face of tyranny, when you are in the face of an oppressor, you should never cower down. And always remember, whatever it is we're trying to fight for, we're trying to fight for us to be able to have our own communities, be able to educate our children properly, be able to build communities, build a system on righteousness, that we're going to do everything we can to make it happen. And we may not even see it happen. That's the thing we got to understand. You and I may not see it happen, especially those in my age group. I'm 50. Okay. I'm closer to death, baby. Okay. Closer to death. And I'll be damned, inshallah. I am not going out like no coward. I'm not going out with my eyes bucking. And I'm scared and talking about they taking away Title I, they taking away affirmative action, they taking away this, that stuff. If they got to sit up there and give us something, the oppressor, that means they had already, stuff was already, it's already set in place. It's already been taken away. Whatever they're giving us, you think they're going to give us something that's of value? And what I'm saying, that doesn't mean to say whatever things that we have, first and foremost, what I want y'all to be clear on is that it came from the provider. And who is the one that provides for all of us? God. For my brothers and sisters out there of faith. That's who we have to have our trust in, first and foremost. And as I'm reminding you, I'm reminding myself. So when we start acting scared, talking about they taking away this, they're gonna lower the EBT benefits, or they're gonna take away the Medicaid, or okay. So now what though? Exactly. You can't sit back and wait for somebody to take away stuff. If you already know that we are in a system that could possibly take stuff away, which we should have realized that this day was going to come. I hope y'all understood that, right? That's the whole point of when you have folks like myself, when we have these different platforms to remind you, we are in a system that any day, if they want, they can literally just take whatever things that they put in place to quote unquote appease us, because they know they owe us reparations. Just like Queen Mother Moore said, oh, they owe us. They're not going to pay us, but they owe us. They owe us. Never relieve them of that debt, ever. And yes, reparations is in the form of money. And we know it's more than just that. I understand that. But yes, that's a big part of it. Let's be clear, money and resources. Yes. You cannot think that you're just going to snatch all this and continue to do it and then think that, oh, okay, well, we're going to create Title One and we're going to create the affirmative action plan, and we'll start dishing out more EBT cards and talk about, well, we gave you reparations. Here's Section 8. Here's Eden or whatever. There's just no, damn it. No. Uh-uh. Forget that. But like I said, as a reminder, again, we should have already known this day was coming. We are in a system that is crumbling. Okay? Period. The system of the false notion of white supremacy is crumbling. The system of the false notion of white supremacy is crumbling. It's dwindling. It's going bye-bye. Any empire, and you talking about an empire, especially that was built on unrighteousness, degradation, dehumanization, turmoil, oppression. You can't never build something on a foundation that's so foul and sick and demonic and think that it's going to flourish. No, it's not. It's going to fall. You ain't even got to believe in God if you don't want to, but I know a lot of y'all know about that word called karma. Whatever you put back, whatever you put in the system, it's going to come back. What goes around comes around, all these different things. A lot of us know, I don't care what community you come from, we know about that. Whether you can say it in whatever language you say it in, we understand that whatever you put in is what is going to come back. You ever heard the saying, garbage in, garbage out, all of that. Oh, yes. All of it. And my thing is, I'm just going to keep it a buck. I ain't trying to be near folks when around people and they created this system to where it's crumbling. I don't want to be nowhere near them, quite honestly. And I'm going to remind my people, get your passports. Get your passports. Okay? Make sure your kids have their passports. Think globally. Don't just think about being here. And I understand the false notion of white supremacy, it is a global, it's global. We understand that. But I'm just saying, that doesn't mean to say there are plenty of places on this earth where you could at least live in a way where you don't have to feel that brute demonic foot on your neck constantly and having to worry about, just like I told you with that article in the Grio. Now you got to deal with, oh my God, we're doomed now. So what you gonna do? Just gonna lay down and just be doomed? Is that it? Or we gonna go back and beg and be like, please, Trump, can you please give us back the Title One and don't take that away? What you gonna? Come on now. You don't negotiate with somebody who gets their advice from the devil. Is you crazy? You just let them do what they do. This is the time for us to go internally and say, what are we going to do? What am I going to do on a personal level? And then what are we going to do on a communal level? And again, in the spirit of going back to what Real Reading Talk is about, that's why I'm always reminding y'all, make sure that you get as many books as possible that talks about Black people, Black culture, Black experiences. That's number one. Educate, read every single day. Number two, read about our ancestors who fought back against tyranny. And not just in America, across the globe. Our young people should know names like Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, Kwame Nkrumah, Queen Nani, Jean-Jacques Dessalines. They should know those names. Dudi Boukman. They should know those names. Just like we want them to know the Harriet Tubman names, and Muhammad Ali, Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, Malcolm X, El Hajj Malik El Shabazz Rahimullah. They should know those names because these are people who said we're not cowering down, and we already know. You talk, please. We just now started. We getting a little like taste of like things like, they're about to, take these particular books out of the schools, or they're about to make it illegal to talk about Black history. We're getting this, right? But you talk about our folks, they were dealing with, we already know the hoses being put on full blast, the colored fountains, white fountains, back of the bus, can't be on the bus, can't eat in the right. They grew up in a system that was just totally openly just racist all the way through. And then you talk about the folks who were enslaved, like my hero, Nat Turner. Yes. Okay. Gabriel Prosser. Yes, my hero. These folks who plotted to overthrow, to fight back against that enslaver. These are the names that our young people need to know. Period, full stop. This is the time for us to wake up, reignite, charged, get that charging up of that African spirit, that spirit of resistance, that spirit of, nah, I'm not about to go down like no punk, like no chump. I'm going to make sure that I fight until that breath is taken out of my body. When Allah, when God gives the angel of death the permission to take my soul out, then that's when it's over. I'm not going to have a defeatist attitude like my dad, George Bazille, shout out to him, would raise me with and my sisters with. He said, no, I don't want y'all to have a defeatist attitude. And I didn't really, even at the time when I was younger, because we'd be playing games, and he would, that was his way. He'd let us win. He'd be like, see, I don't want y'all to have a defeatist attitude. That's why I'm letting you win, right? But as I got older, and he would say that, and then I would remember that. I'm like, it was more and more, especially when I be, faced with different situations or whatever, and, I would have to speak up. I'm like, that's what he was talking about. That's what he was talking about. Don't have no defeatist attitude. Don't have no attitude. Well, okay, woe was me. I'm doomed. I guess that's it. All right. All's well that ends well. I mean, it's like, come on, man. Do you want to be, come on. You don't want to be around nobody like that. You know you love that movie when you got that person, man, they fought to the death. If it meant that they had to die right there, that's what it was. And that's what I'm saying to myself and to you all. And again, I'm not trying to act like that I don't be scared. Trust and believe. Or I haven't, or I never made some decisions that I look back and I'm like, man, you know what I'm saying? I came from a place of fear when I made that decision. That was totally wrong. So I'm definitely not coming in that way. But the way that I am coming, though, is that we do have to push through the fear. We have to push through the fear. Period. Just like Muhammad Ali said, without fear, we can't be brave. I hope that you all gain some insight, knowledge, wisdom. I hope that I was able to help to ignite that spirit of courage, of faith, of integrity, of not giving up, of resilience, of determination, unshakable belief in the one, the creator. Trust and believe. That's the foundation. When we have that, and guess what? We can do anything we put our minds to. And let us throw away the scaredy cat talk, y'all. We can't do that. This is not the time, y'all. This is not the time. We cannot have a scaredy cat talk. We just can't. And I understand you may be afraid of certain things. I get it. Like I said, we in the same boat. I get it. But where I do have to separate myself is that I have to tap in and be like, wait a minute, now, I'm not sitting up there reading books like that book y'all see back there, the Black Jacobins. Books talking about revolution. Matter of fact, let me read the title for y'all. The Black Jacobins, Toussaint Louverture and the San Domingo Revolution by C.L.R. James. Okay. I didn't learn about this book until I think a couple of years ago. Okay. See, that's the kind of stuff we need to be on. For real. All right. And where's my other book at? Do I have? Oh, I thought I had my Dr. Gerald Horn book. So yeah, we need to get back into that spirit, y'all. Okay. So I'm out of here. I thank you all again for listening to another episode of Real Reading Talk. And remember to please keep reading for at least 30 minutes a day. Reading is freedom. Y'all already know it. Peace. Yes, y'all. Y'all know what it is. I'm about to get right on into the housekeeping, y'all. You need a reading tutor for your pre-K through 4th grade, baby? Please go to my website, abclearntutoring.com. Also, make sure you check out our website, abcread.org. Again, I'm the founder and executive director of ABC Read, and our mission is to develop and nurture a culture of literacy in Black and underserved communities. We are on a mission to give away 10,000 books by the end of this year, and inshallah, God willing, it will happen. And it happens with your help, those of you who understand our mission. So we appreciate your donations and your support, your prayers, your shares, all of that. Go to abcread.org. Also, if you would love to give, go to our Cash App, abcread, the number 1. And check out the merch, Reading is Freedom. Y'all check out the mug. It is time to get your drinky drink on with your book. All right, get that empowerment on. Have you something nice to drink in the Reading is Freedom mug. Please go to the website, readingisfreedomshop.com. That's right, readingisfreedomshop.com. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Reading is Freedom, as well. Of course, make sure you share the podcast. Make sure you download it. We need to increase those downloads. I want y'all to be listening to these episodes in your cars, while you're working out, while you are just, taking walks in the park, whatever it is. Make sure that you are getting that empowerment right there in your ears and getting down into your spirit. All right. And last but not least, just to let you all know the book that I've been reading, which is Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson. If you don't know, please make sure you go find out, okay? Powernomics, that's the book that I've been reading, okay, and taking my notes on. All right, and also this book right here, I actually started back reading that book, The Black Jacobins, okay? Yeah, y'all already know, okay? The quote, "We can't be brave without fear." Muhammad Ali. Remember that. All right, y'all, take care. And please remember to keep reading for at least 30 minutes a day. And remember, reading is freedom. My name is Miss Seisha, and I thank you all again for listening to another episode of Real Reading Talk. Peace.